All right, we've been talking about Kathy Griffin a lot. We have Andrea on the line from Salt Lake City who has an interesting theory on this. Andrea, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Andy, Tom, and Michael?
Yeah.
Riedel.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, okay. Well, apologies. Anyway, my theory on Kathy Griffin is that she has learned absolutely nothing in the last 2 years. Since Trump announced his candidacy, of course. Pretty much Trump has been glue the last 2 years. Has been rubber, excuse me. I can't even get my analogies correct. I apologize.
It's not Teflon, it's the rubber glue theory.
I think that was what I said. He was the rubber glue candidate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I got backwards. Anyway, before I'm involuntarily signed off, Tom, I just want to say that I'm really looking forward to your book signing at Carolyn's next Tuesday.
All right. Are you coming?
Absolutely. You ever heard the phrase drunken sailor? Fiscal responsibility is not at the top of my to-do list, so I planned the trip last minute. I'll be there.
That is the best. Let's go right to Andrea in Salt Lake City.
I already have a 1911 very nice piece, but unless I'm going snowboarding, not really a concealable setup. So,
You got to carry when you snowboard, right?
You never know.
It was something that was available to me, and actually, after the Virginia Tech shootings in 2007, the Utah State Legislature passed a law saying that publicly funded universities can't prevent concealed carry permit holders from carrying on campus.
Do you think grades go up when the professors know that the students might be carrying?
I don't know how to differentiate that from the current grade inflation. I don't know, Andy.
All right.
Concealed carry permit's a little weird, though. You have to take a class, and I'm a giant cheapskate, so I just got a Florida permit instead. It still works.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a caller. Andrea from Salt Lake City. Andrea, you seem to have a different opinion about Democrats than our friend from North Carolina.
Yeah, I do. So, as with anything, stress can bring growth. And from what I can tell with the Democratic Party is that there's not a whole lot of stress going on. In fact, they're presenting a really united front when it comes to their rhetoric. And I think the perfect example that you guys gave immediately following Hillary collapsing at the 9/11 memorial is everyone was on cable news saying she tried to power through. She tried to power through, using those exact words.
Yes, that's right.
Absolutely. And there's no dissenting voices in the party, which may appear unseemly, but that's an opportunity to allow for debate and ideas and to refine positions and really sell them to the public, and they're just not doing it.
Andrea, you're so right. Rob, what do you think of that? Let's take a call. It's Andrea in Salt Lake City. Andrea, what's your solution to the modern problem of children?
Well, speaking as a single person who thus has a lot of time on my hands to work through these issues,
That's good.
Kids just need to be out on their own. They need to be given responsibility. And it isn't maybe necessarily just a matter of going out to the playground with their friends, whatever else. Maybe household chores, something of that nature.
Oh, so it's not just play, it's responsibility. Interesting.
Yeah, the more responsibility you give someone, the more responsible, or at least more of a capacity they have to become responsible in the future.
I agree.
And that has implications for adulthood as well.
If you were going to have kids, would you edit your kids' genes? Andrea in Salt Lake City, what do you think?
Hey, Tom. I'm not married. I don't have kids. Definitely on the bucket list. And if I knew,
I like the bucket list.
yeah, well, wish in one hand, and then there's something else you're supposed to do in the other. But I would do it in the case of really severe disease that we saw coming down the road. Something for male pattern baldness, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
But, what my concern is, and you kind of brought this up when you were talking about the doctors trying to push amniocentesis on you and Denise.
Yeah.
Is then my thinking about like insurance companies. If you knew that your unborn child had some severe risk or gene for a heart defect or something for example, would they insure the child? I mean, that's like a pre-existing condition that you could have fixed in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think the pressure from insurance getting your kid insured, everything else is only going to increase pressures, and it's going to be really difficult for people to make up their own mind on that issue.
Yeah, also, there was a case of someone who, as horrible as it sounds, he sued the hospital because they didn't inform him that the kid was going to be born with defects. And he said if the hospital had gotten it right and informed me, I wouldn't have gone through with the pregnancy. That's what the parents said. I don't know.
Oh, there's always crazy stuff like that. I think you guys covered a story on Red Eye. A lesbian couple went to a sperm bank and wanted the genes donated to look like one of the other women, and it was not that way at all, and they were suing and kind of trying to cover up and use euphemistic language that they're upset that they had a black child instead of the white child that they...
That's right. I remember that story. It's true. Well, it's interesting. Andrea, thank you for the call. Andrea in Salt Lake City, you're on the Tom Shalhoub Show. When's this diversity thing going to end?
Grateful.
Multiple organizations, including Veterans Affairs, have reached out to donate. Ben Avery with Sacramento Steps Forward was happy to help the two men.
These two gentlemen have spent a lot of time out on the street and struggling before we were able to make that connection, but we're glad that we were able to make it today.
Over 2,000 strangers have also donated money to the brothers through a GoFundMe page, which totals more than $100,000. Thank you, Clifford and Gary, for your service.
And Mike Gunzelman, did you get a message from Andrea?
Yes, Andrea.
Andrea in Salt Lake City.
Call us whenever you want, Andrea. She sent us a tweet. She was upset that she only got on for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
And decided to post a photo of her holding
An AK-47.
An AK-47 with this look in her eyes, like
you guys.
Oh God! So
she knows how to handle a weapon.
She does. She does.
She can do whatever she wants. It's all good.
Send that to Kim Jong-il. That'll scare him more than anything Trump has to say.
She's ready for war.
She takes him out.
Andrea is a regular listener, and we have a solid crew. I call them Shalunatics. These Shalunatics are, and I say that respectfully,
Of course.
but we hear from them regularly, and I think they're fantastic. We see them on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Tom Shalhoub Show, and we hear from them as callers, just like Andrea. She knows how to handle her weapons.
I bet she does.
The dog owners said, how about debarking instead of removal? And the guy said, okay, that's a compromise. What do you think, Andrea in Salt Lake City?
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Andrea.
Hey, I think that we make surgical alterations to our pets already, usually, when they're only a couple months old. So.
Holy cow, wait a minute. You know what? Why didn't I think of that? We're always snipping them, snip and tuck. Andrea doesn't have a problem with it. What? Didn't we open up a can of worms, Andrea? Watch the callers call in now and say, Andrea, what an evil person.
I haven't been yelled at enough this week, so I thought, kind of help you out with the show, Tom.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the call. Let's take Andrea in Salt Lake City. Andrea, what do you think? What do you think of this kid who was suspended for his knife?
Well, he's learned the wrong lesson. He had good morals going into school that day, realizing that he was in the wrong, and he turned it in, was punished anyway. Now he's just not going to say anything, and he's going to wait until he gets home.
That's it.
That's like the worst part of all of this.
The lesson is keep your knives hidden, right?
No, it's keep your mouth shut when you're dealing with authority.
Yeah.
Michael's absolutely right on that point.
God bless you.
How's your ankle, Andrea? I saw online. Andrea's a big fan of the show, and I see our people on Facebook and everything, and I happen to know Andrea's laid up. I think you got a bad...
Oh.
What's that? What happened to your ankle, Andrea?
I fell and broke my ankle when I was hiking, and finally went to the ER a couple days later and had surgery yesterday, but they did like a nerve blocker, so I can't feel anything.
Ooh, nerve blocker.
And feel pretty great.
That picture of your big purple ankle, can I put that on our Facebook page?
Oh, go bananas, Tom. That sounds great.
Okay. Andrea, thank you. Thanks for the call. I wanted to get her permission because it's pretty It looks horrible.
I like how you follow your followers back. I
Well,
like
yeah,
that. Tom Shalhoub,
like-
the only radio host who listens to you.
I like how he mocks their injuries and puts them out there for everyone to gaze at.
Oh yeah, Tom just in the middle of like a call-in, and someone's like, "I want to talk about DACA," and he's like, "Oh, how's your sick aunt doing?" Like, man, you really know a lot
picture.
about these people.
The other day when Jimmy Fallon was on the show, it was actually inadvertent. I was surfing the web looking for reaction.
The web? Who says that?
I was surfing the World Wide Web.
Surfing the web. My God,
Did
he's
you
such a
dial
dad.
up to that?
I was looking on our Facebook page, and because what I do is during the show I get comments. Okay. And so I was looking up the comments, and I happened to see a comment from Andrea, and then I just saw her big foot. Look at it.
Ooh, that's a nasty little. Yeah, that.
We are going to post it.
You waited 2 days before going to the emergency room
I
on
know,
that
it's
thing?
not an
Yeah.
oh, my goodness.
What did you think? That thing was just going to come down with some ice?
God, I thought
She
cankles were genetic. I guess you could get them.
This is what's great about
What are some of
social
these other
media.
tabs that you're looking at? Interesting, Tom.
No, there's no. But she posted the picture of her ankle. And she
horrific.
asked her Facebook friend. She said, "What do you think, guys? Should I have this checked out?" And
Amputated.
and people said, "By all means, get to the emergency
Get
room."
it
So she
amputated.
did.
That's a lost cause.
So she did.
Yeah.
Okay. Andrea in Salt Lake City, you're on the Tom Shalhoub Show.
Afternoon, Tom.
Good afternoon.
I normally agree with just about everything you have to say. However, the one issue with raising the voting age is, number one, you've already granted a right that now you seek to take away, and with the government, that's impossible.
Impossible?
Second, just about rolling back rights.
Well, it's
yeah.
hard. I'll admit it's hard. But I
Yeah,
think you can
and-
do it. We lowered it.
Oh, but you're granting a right to another group. This would be rescinding that right. The other issue that I think that we should take into consideration is then we run the risk of having a whole population that might be earning a decent paycheck now having to pay taxes. They're not able to vote. It's taxation without representation.
Okay. I know we're against that because, we all watched, Education Rock on Saturday morning. Schoolhouse Rock, right? You know what, though, Andrea? If taxation without representation really is unfair, and you have to give everyone, then you'd have to give 16-year-olds voting rights because they're making $12 an hour babysitting for me now.
That's true, and that issue was brought up and debated during the Scottish independence referendum a few years back. I didn't pay too close attention to how the debate went, but that's certainly a valid point as well. Perhaps we should just prevent people from entering the workforce until they're 18 or have some other life experience that might prepare them for more adult responsibilities.
Yeah. Well, what about my modification? Because I have to admit, it was lowered, and the argument for lowering the voting age in 71 was that people were being sent to die in Vietnam, and that does make sense. What about this, though, Andrea? The old military option, you go in the military, you can vote at a younger age. That makes sense to me.
I was enlisted in the military once upon a time, and I have some mixed feelings about it.
But I think you could make everybody over 40 happy if you took away the voting rights of people 18 to 21.
Hey,
You'd come pretty close.
I'd probably still feel pretty peachy about it too, Tom. So.
Ben Shapiro is speaking. Apparently, he's out at a university in Utah. So, Andrea Bryant, who's a great regular listener, she's out in Utah. That's why I know where the campus is in Utah, but I don't know what the name of the school is. The Women's Research Center and the Gender Studies are hosting a party to kind of counteract the speech by Ben Shapiro, and they said that there will be food, femtours, faculty, staff, and great connections. Have you heard of femtours?
What kind of food? Is it organic? Is it non-GMO? Is it vegan?
It just says food. But the thing that I got was femtours. It sounded like some kind of Star Wars creature. Let's take a call. Andrea in Salt Lake City. Andrea,
Hey, Tom.
Did you attend this rally yet? This Ben Shapiro rally?
No, that's going to be this evening. I'm really looking forward to it.
Good luck.
So,
He's on campus.
yeah.
What is the campus? I couldn't figure it out.
University of Utah.
University of Utah.
Fine
am I right?
institution.
Their femtours are female mentors. Is that right, Andrea?
So I've been told, yes.
There's I'm glad we have a female caller. It's Andrea in Salt Lake City. You're on the Tom Shalhoub Show.
Well, I just don't really understand the appeal, at least coming from a woman's perspective, of going around topless, just in terms of being objectified and leered at.
I agree with Andrea there.
If someone's staring at my chest, I hope it's because I spilled something on my shirt during lunch, not...
Yeah.
I think it's that they want the equality. So it's like...
You're trying to show up, you're trying to prove a point, basically.
Yes.
Trying to be...
If you want to prove a point, sign up for the draft. Like,
there you go.
I agree.
Equality ain't a buffet table, right?
Well, I think they should.
Andrea.
Right.
I love
Laying it
that.
down.
Equality is not a buffet table. I like that.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Thank you, Andrea. Andrea in Salt Lake City. Were you offended by Cam? Andrea is a woman's name.
It sure is, unless you're Italian. But I think Cam Newton's only mistake was that he told the truth. I have a laundry list of wildly inappropriate things that make me laugh, and if I were to actually articulate that in normal society, I would be absolutely outcast to some desert island. So I would lie about it. Oh, why are you laughing, Andrea? Oh, well, Family Circus is really funny this morning. Cam Newton made the mistake of actually telling the truth, and that's why he's being ostracized.
Andrea, let's take Andrea in Salt Lake City. Welcome to the show, Andrea.
Unlike our current perspective, Catholics and Protestants don't really mix. All that being said, I think Indigenous people should have their own day as well. However, they're just so different. For example, here in Utah, we have the Utes and the Southern Paiute. They don't get along. I don't imagine that they would want to share a holiday.
Well, your guys out there, wasn't it your city council, Andrea, that just voted to make Indigenous Peoples Day on Columbus Day?
Yeah, you want to know where I heard that news, Tom? From you, buddy.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we do everything, the local and the national.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I just have to listen to Tom Shalhoub. I'll stay up to date on all my news.
That's great. Just to show you how the tight family of the show. Andrea, how's your foot?
It's coming along. Still no weight, but all things considered, I'm very lucky. Oh, and I wanted to ask you, Joe, when are you or Tom or both coming out to Salt Lake City?
We've got to do it.
Entertainment.
I have got to get out there.
I love that this is Andrea's a regular. Also.
Andrea,
She is.
faithful caller.
I love it.
Last week, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, we got to do it, Andrea. I don't mind. We can keep bugging me about that. I'm going to come out to Salt Lake City. Maybe play Wise Guys. We'll see.
I like the sub-theme to today's show is people calling in asking why I'm not coming out to... I want to.
Yes.
I'm just not successful. Let's get to work on that,
He
people.
will. He'll be there. He'll fill the room. Take a call. Andrea in Salt Lake City. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom, Chris, and Jamie. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Well,
I like that. It answered with proper grammar. Well, I like it.
Andrea, you obviously don't care what other people think of you when you post photographs of yourself standing in, Fox Studios, right? You obviously...
Yeah, the care what other people think ship maybe hasn't sailed, but it is certainly cast off from the pier. Out here in Utah, I feel like I'm some sort of androgynous blob. I don't get a lot of attention. I was in New York City for 48 hours in June. It was like, wow, I felt like I landed on a different planet. So...
You might be destined for here, Andrea.
Always welcome here.
Yeah.
Take that as an open invitation. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Andrea. Andrea in Salt Lake City, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Tom, and Carly. What a day.
Oh, yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Good. Did you see, I know you watched the BET Awards. Did you see Eminem?
Yeah, I never missed the BET Awards, Tom. I did see Eminem's rap video, and I have to say it had a transformative effect on me, just like it did Keith Olbermann. But I reached a rather different conclusion.
Yeah.
I was always concerned about millennials, or just people of my age, getting their news from sources like The Daily Show or some half-baked late-night talk show that isn't Red Eye.
Yeah.
And now I see it can be much worse.
Let's take a question for Lori from Andrea in Salt Lake City.
Hey, Hey, everybody. Tom, one quick thing I wanted to point out. October 13th, it's the Navy's 242nd birthday today. And congratulations on your 69th show. That was a milestone that's very important to our mutual friend, Tass.
Wow.
And
69th show. It's moving by. We're going to have to do something big on the 100th, right?
That's right.
I'll start planning and pitch you some tips.
Yeah.
I'll
bring a cake. Yeah.
So, Andrea, 242 years Navy today. Is that right?
That's correct, sir.
Is that your branch? The Navy?
That's my branch, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good for you.
I knew she was a vet, but I didn't know which branch.
In the Navy.
Oh,
that Village People song.
I
Remember
thought that I had mentioned
Sail the
that I was a
seven
drunken
seas
sailor
in the
repeatedly.
Navy.
but-
That's right. I forgot. Thank you for the call, Andrea. Andrea in Salt Lake City. Do you celebrate Halloween? And really, my question to everybody is, should adults be celebrating Halloween? Because I never dress up. Andrea, do you?
I don't celebrate Halloween anymore, and really, when it comes to these offensive costumes, whether it was the example of Prince Harry that Guns gave, or the Anne Frank costume, which appears to be made for a child, there's some feasible form of plausible deniability there, whereas an adult, you might actually have to take responsibility for your half-baked ideas, and I totally don't support that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Tom, I wanted to ask you, too, with that Diary of Anne Frank play, was that the one where the entire cast had thick Boston accents?
Yes, it was really... I mean, the way I remember the play was the most beautiful play, because, the play is a tearjerker, and everyone's crying at the end of the play. But it was a community theater, and it was in my, home state of Massachusetts. And then when I looked at a VHS tape of the play several years later, after moving to New York, I sat down and said, oh, this play, I'm going to relive it. I put it on, and I couldn't believe the accents. It was like, Ian, Peter, the Nazis are outside. We got to hide. It was so Boston. It's amazing.
Kind of sound like my mom.
I think there's a certain point you kind of grow out of that, especially if alcohol's not going to be involved. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just another regular Saturday for
Then
some
it's just,
people.
How about,
Exactly.
I think at least the cutoff should so when we come back, we're going to talk candy. Andrea, what's your Halloween candy of choice?
It's probably going to be those tiny little chocolate-covered alcohol shots.
I like this lady. I love a woman that can handle a gun anytime. So let me tell you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Andrea. Maybe you could play the drinking game with Andrea's famous alcohol covered by chocolates. I've never heard what is it? They have shots that are covered with chocolate. It's unbelievable.
You mistakenly put them in and give those to the kids rather than the real one.
I know. Don't give
I grabbed the wrong bag.
They're like, best Halloween ever.
Andrea in Salt Lake City, what do you think? Do you text and walk?
I absolutely do not. That was one thing that we were trained with the Navy. You do not text and walk, or someone would come and scream in your face. So I have a mental block about it. I can't actually do it.
That's what they train you in the Navy? I thought it was like, I saw the Richard Gere movie. I thought they made you do push-ups and yell at you. They tell you not to text and walk?
Well, they start with push-ups, then they move on to important topics like not walking across the grass, texting and walking, stuff like that. To Joe's point earlier, we don't really have that many pedestrians in Salt Lake City, so it's not as much of a worry for us out here.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And Andrea, you only have one foot, so you're not really texting as you walk along. Is that correct?
If I could, that would be one hell of an accomplishment, right? But yes, start the partial weight bearing tomorrow. So.
Oh, nice.
We're going to go right now to Andrea in Salt Lake City. Andrea, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Kat?
Pretty good.
And hello to the other two-thirds of you again this afternoon.
All right, well, we're going to take one more caller here real quick. Andrea, Salt Lake City.
Good evening, everyone. And I think it was Chris Freed, who would make a fantastic guest, by the way, who called it creates a cycle of public cynicism where just nothing ever gets done.
Let's take Andrea in Salt Lake City. Andrea. Let's see, Andrea. Andrea is military. She's from Salt Lake City.
Sure,
Maybe
I know Andrea,
I have
sure.
not had a call from a military person or former military today that agrees with me, but let's see where Andrea is.
How you doing, Navy?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Anthony?
Good.
Tom?
Good.
Then the recruiters could be prosecuted under 2 separate articles of the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Whoa.
They falsified paperwork. They should have known he was a head case. And so that would be fraudulent enlistment, Article 84, if memory serves, and then Article 92, failure to obey a lawful order. And but there's a similar case back in, I think, 2009. The Marines actually recruited someone with autism and went to boot camp the whole 9 yards. I think you're correct. I think that was wrong of John McCain to make remarks. The president, I really do love hearing his comments, but at the same time, I think he's not just running the country, but he's running a very successful culture war at the same time. So I see the ulterior motive there.
That's right. Oh, that's good. He's doing. He says, "I got another war, a culture war." So he's fighting 2 fronts,
fighting an 18-front war. That's what he's doing.
He's the best general we have.
Well, thank you for the call, Andrea. Always good to hear from you. Andrea in Salt Lake City, you're on the Tom Shalhoub Show.
Hey, afternoon, gentlemen. I work for a university, so I live in perpetual fear that anything I say or do can and will be used against me in my termination. So,
and it's probably true. Andrea, you work for, if you're so afraid, what are you putting pictures of your bruised foot on Facebook for? Ray doesn't know.
They're not going to fire a cripple. That's the one action.
Exactly.
Do you know Ryan Hamilton?
Yeah,
I actually went and saw him based on Mr. DeVito's recommendation.
There you go. See?
Let's take a question from Andrea in Salt Lake City.
Oh, Salt Lake.
Afternoon, gents.
Hello, Andrea.
Mike.
Hey,
Mike, huge fan of yours, probably only surpassed by my mother, Betty Bryant, who loves you. But I wanted to, wanted to ask regarding the implications, as you're speaking about with Saudi Arabia, how that might affect U.S. forces stationed in the region, more specifically in neighboring Bahrain with the Fifth Fleet.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And
if only I had questions like that.
I know your questions
well,
have been a little lame,
there,
but
so
no, okay. Yeah, no.
Andrea, thank you for the call. Mike,
she laughed.
What's that?
I probably banged on too much there, but that was nice of her to call. And Salt Lake's a great town, and it's nice of her to say.
It's very close to
Betty's
Boise.
a fan.
Yeah. And to Andrea in Salt Lake City, I'm going to go do Boise and Salt Lake City. Yeah, how's
excellent.
That? Yeah,
free tickets for her and for Betty.
Yes, we'll plan that. You know who wants to be respected? Andrea from Salt Lake City.
Yay!
You're on, Andrea.
Afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so working on a university, I get to hear about toxic masculinity until, I'm pretty much sick of it. But
back in the day, this used to be the biggest knock against religious conservatives, that people who are gay should suppress their dark urges and not act on them, and that was a solution now that no one really advocates.
It's a great
So
point.
this is the same kind of thinking, which is you're born with these dark urges and you should do everything you can not to act on them, and that is not a path to psychological health for any human being.
Andrea in Salt Lake City, you're on. Well, more than a question, I have a comment. I think it's Andrea's birthday today, or was it yesterday, Andrea?
it was yesterday.
Happy birthday, loyal caller, Andrew.
I learned these things from Tass, the resident artist.
What would we do without her?
I know. And, my friend Bill Lobley, I learned about his birthday as well. This is what I learned.
Yeah, back to back.
Yeah, it's a tight-knit community of 4 listeners, but it's woven. It's woven. So
Wait, is
quality
this
over quantity, Joe?
Wait, Andrea, what's your Twitter handle? Are you STL Blonde?
Oh no, she's not that.
Oh,
that
no?
woman.
Okay. I mean,
see
I
her.
like you too, but
You'll see her
there are
online
like
later.
5. that I know.
Andrew's the one with the gangrenous leg, infected
Hey,
leg.
I actually walked us out of crutch or a brace yesterday. Probably ill-advised, but that was a good birthday present for me.
Nice.
Fantastic.
We'll put that back on.
Well, Andrea, have a happy birthday. as the wounded warrior that you are.
Not service connected.
Yes. Let's take a break. We'll be back on the Tom Shalhoub Show. Let's take Andrea in Salt Lake City.
Tom, I'm just delighted to hear that there's still uses for newspaper.
I know. Bottom of the bird cage, inside of the Fiat.
I would think if someone was some sort of an environmental burden, I would want to make them in some ways educated and useful, and I would think that people who take that view of the youth being an environmental burden did vote for a woman who wrote a book called It Takes a Village.
It's so true. It takes a village with few people, I guess.
Oh, I hope it's someone who saw it.
It could be from someone very highly qualified to speak on military, in an official capacity on military matters. Andrea in Salt Lake City.
Whoa. Take out that official capacity.
Exactly.
Prior relevant experience. We'll go with that. But
Yes.
I have to admit, I wasn't an officer. I wasn't a pilot. However, I was a coxswain on a small boat, and we had a GPS chart plotter. And about 5 years ago, I drew a similar anatomic structure while on post.
How did you do it?
Well, the chart plotter kind of it leaves breadcrumbs basically wherever the boat went.
Yeah.
So you just leave it on, and yes, it was a very childish thing to do. However, what it demonstrates is competence with your craft.
Honestly, that should be a training exercise.
In my case, I'm operating on one plane, on the surface of the water. However, I have to understand the wind, how that affects my boat, how that, currents, everything else. This Navy pilot, yes, very juvenile thing, but, that's some serious control of the craft. That's what I see in the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. It's not just anybody can draw in that way. So, Andrea, you took what was it, like a little PT type boat?
No, it would have been smaller than that. It was
smaller than a PT boat.
Yeah, it was like a 27-foot metal shark. I mean, this is like half a decade ago, so my memory.
It's not the size that matters. It's okay. Whatever the boat size is fine.
Yeah, we had to be fast. So.
But you took the boat and you wrote it in an obscene shape.
If you want to see a picture, Tom, just go to my Twitter page. That's my background photo.
Oh, it is.
That's amazing. The ocean penis.
So we could see it, Matt. Would it be acceptable to put that on our Fox News sponsored Facebook page?
I have a censored version up.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think the dirtiness lies in the imagination of who gazes upon the photo, not who drew it. I take no responsibility for that, Tom. Although I have to say, on Armed Forces Network when I was down in El Salvador this spring, I did see that Allie Breen was on tour for the troops. So thanks, Allie.
Oh, of course. That's one of my favorite things to do. Thank you for your service. You guys are amazing.
Let's take Andrea in Salt Lake City. Welcome, Andrea.
Afternoon, everyone.
Hey.
Yeah, I think Kathy Griffin is just mistaking a blacklist for what everyone else might refer to as market forces.
Yeah. Andrea in Salt Lake City. What do you think, Andrea? Are you going to be talking politics?
My sister and I will still be staying with our parents. There'll still be copious amounts of alcohol involved. So if we do bring up politics, the stakes are going to be real high.
Absolutely.
I say go for it. Let's live stream that.
Yeah.
Live stream, baby.
Okay, how about this?
I don't know. I'm more about pre-recording and then editing down to the best parts. So.
Smart move. If only we had the presence of mind to do that on this show.
Andrea, have a great Thanksgiving. Now, what do you think, Andrea? I was originally thinking Monday was our 100th show, but I think because we're essentially playing best of episodes the next 2 days, so they're kind of essentially repeats.
Uh-huh.
Right.
They don't count. So would you say that the 100th show is Monday or Wednesday?
I'd have to say it's Wednesday, but if we want to get really technical, there were some days where Mr. Fela filled in for you, and Joe filled in for you.
Those
so
count.
You might only be on
Those count. Because it was the Tom Shalhoub show.
I would say so, too. It was new content, so I say Wednesday.
Andrea's on the ball.
Andrea, it's funny you should mention that because those are the best of episodes they're playing. Hey!
Yeah, and those were also the days that I couldn't get on. Imagine that. So I don't know. I might disagree with you there.
That's funny. Good for you, Andrea. Very funny.
Thank you, Andrea. Have a great Thanksgiving. Andrea in Salt Lake City, word of the year. Joe's excited.
I agree with Joe. That Norm Macdonald bit is fantastic. If I may, a quick message to Joe.
Yeah, sure. He's so happy you called his head. He looks like a bobblehead, Joe.
Well, I love Joe more than you love wellies and shorts, Tom.
Talk about predatory. My wellies and shorts. Forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm like the outlier. I'm the predatory woman. I'm kind of, I'm very strange. But anyway, Joe, I just wanted to say, if I don't talk to you before Friday, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much. And,
I didn't even know that.
Me neither.
Birthday's Friday?
December 1st, yeah. And I think Andrea knows she's going to contact me before that. She's not fooling anybody.
Probably. I'm going to need a few scotches first. I'm always nervous to talk to you.
Thank you for the call, Andrea. Let's take another regular. Andrea in Salt Lake City, you are on.
Hey, Tom, Jimmy, Heath, and Tass. What a day. Hey. Happy 100th, Tom.
Thank you, Thanks. Andrea. Andrea in Salt Lake City, what do you think? Are they out of control out there in Utah?
Not that I've seen. Maybe I just don't get out that much. No, and I would agree with that as well. I don't even really like wearing tank tops. Like, breastfeeding a child in public is totally incomprehensible to me.
Andrea, can I ask you, did you get your Christmas tree yet?
I live in a studio apartment, so no.
Oh, but wait, so do you even do a tree? You don't do a tree in the apartment?
No, I got a sister that lives in town, so we'll probably set up a tree at her place.
Rely on the sister.
Nice.
Good call. Okay, that's right. Thank you, Andrea, for the call. Okay, Andrea in Salt Lake City. You are on with Guns N' Roses. Andrea, I think, Riedel, did you ask? Did you say is Andrea's going to
I hope, yes. Because I remember, Andrea, I think once we were on the show when we very rudely cut you off and you texted us a picture with your gun.
Yes.
I love that picture.
Well, I'm glad you do. If you so desire, when I get home tonight, I will tweet another photo of me with a different firearm.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, boy. I'm going down. Thanks.
That was Riedel, by the way, talking, not me. I'm good.
Well, he doesn't check his Twitter, so how else is he going to see it?
I'm not on Twitter, so I can never get in trouble in that way.
Exactly. Anyway, I won't do that. I apologize. But I did also wanted to say as well that Tass, the resident artist, is very excited that you guys are on today and wanted to say hello, and that she's very much looking forward to drawing you.
Very
Fantastic.
Good. Excellent.
Is she going to draw Guns with his mouth open again? Usually it's like he's hangdog.
Yeah, oh, God.
No, I don't have that information.
Okay.
Guns with his mouth. Rabid dog just drooling.
Now, Andrea,
Guns wearing clothes he picked out of a dumpster.
I just bought this shirt on the way here for $60 because it was so cold out.
You look like you slept in a dumpster.
What are you talking about? It's a very nice shirt. I got a Nirvana shirt, vintage. I'm
You're
good.
30 years old and you're wearing a baseball cap. What is wrong with you? You're not 12.
It's style, Riedel.
Style?
Something you don't have. All right. God, go read another Hamlet review. See how that goes.
I'm working on another book. I write books. Guns can't read them.
Andrea, we got caught up in a roast here.
No, I'm not eating here. This is great.
Andrea, will you send me the gun? Just send me the gun, and I'll put us all out of our misery.
Oh, well, I can't help you there. I do not aid, nor do I abet.
Oh, my God.
He's dead,
That's
so...
impressive. A guy that can multitask?
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
All right, so I'm going to bring in Andrea from Salt Lake City. Maybe she wants to comment on that, and maybe we'll ask her if she is. Andrea, are you attending any Christmas parties?
I am not. There is one through the office that it's kind of like a mandatory fun event. I'm going to try to avoid it, but it doesn't look like my attempts are going to be successful.
So it is through the place that you work?
Correct.
Yeah, but they're having a party. They're serving alcohol because, according to the Weinstein
effect. No, hold up.
Uh-huh.
No alcohol. I'm in Utah. Come on now.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like, how dry is Utah? Is the whole state dry or what?
No. It's just alcohol is insanely expensive, and then some of the rules, like for publicly funded universities, let's say you can't have alcohol on campus. Pretty much. Period. End of story.
Yeah. Andrea, real or fake?
Fake.
Fake tree. Yeah, there you go. I would think Andrea's like a chop your own type.
Could be. I don't know. I think we got to make the T-shirts to say "Fake tree, real boobs." That's the T-shirt.
Hey, that's accurate in my case.
Thank you, Andrea.
Andrea in Salt Lake City, welcome to the Tom Shalhoub Show with Lou Pate. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Lou?
I'm all right. What's up?
So, I think that if you're a parent who gives consent that their child should have Facebook Messenger, you're completely insane. While your child might be acting like an angel in front of you, they might be saying something with their still developing language skills to strangers and whatnot. I used to teach skiing, and some of the family secrets that 6-year-olds enlightened me about when it came to their family were absolutely...
You could write a book.
Would make you blush.
Now, Andrea, can you do me a favor without saying any names? Can you tell us one of the more tawdry, salacious stories that was spilled to you by a youngin'?
So
that won't make us lose our FCC license.
I think we'll be all right. Don't want to hurt my buddy Tom or Matt or Josh, but no, I was actually most children didn't have that great of language skills, but I did have one particularly talkative 5-year-old who told me that when her mommy takes her clothes off, her daddy chases her around the house. And I had a lot of questions at that point. I kept my mouth shut and changed the subject to...
were you smirking or were you shocked?
I just was trying not to laugh.
Let's bring in Andrea. Andrea, do you have a worse Christmas song? Andrea in Salt Lake City.
I pretty much hate anything that's a celebrity cover because it's ruined my original childhood memory of whatever song that they're covering.
Yeah.
Wait. So are you saying
songs?
Are you saying you don't like Michael Bolton's version of Little Drummer Boy?
I'm not sure that I like Michael Bolton's version of much of anything.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm kidding. It's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Andrea, you know that one?
I can't say that I'm that.
She doesn't get into the John Denver deep cuts.
Not feeling that one.
The B-sides.
Andrea in Salt Lake City.
So this whole crawling business, I don't understand what that was about, how the cop would be able to justify that, because that's ultimately what led to the suspect's death.
Yeah.
Reaching for their waistbands could be a very dangerous scenario, especially when the original 911 call did stipulate that the suspect had a gun.
Andrea in Salt Lake City, what do you think?
I want to point out that I, too, was on the show last week talking about the Disney breastfeeding story, which also, now that I think about it, words that I never thought I would say together in a row.
The Disney breastfeeding incident.
In the case of the woman who disabled the smoke detector, she's a lunatic. She probably shouldn't be let outside of a padded room, let alone on an airplane ever again.
Yeah. Well, but so you kind of sympathize with the woman in this case. You think they were a little power hungry.
Absolutely. And if you want to see if people were kicked off of an airplane unjustly, read the follow-up on the story and see if they were booked on another flight. If that's the case, that's an air crew that's likely on a power trip.
So what did you think of Screaming Dude from last year, Andrea?
Oh, I think that was actually my first call when you had a radio show, Tom.
Wow.
She loves the airplane.
Yeah.
There's, if there's noncompliance from an authority figure, yeah, it might stink, but it's just like Michael says, you got to comply and figure it out later, but I don't know. Makes for a great viral video, right?
It certainly does. Well, let's take Andrea in Salt Lake City. Andrea, you want to get in on this conversation?
You are asking someone who did wear a fake tree real boobs shirt to work today. So
yes.
The only reason I wore a long sleeve button up is actually because it's chilly, not.
Can you get away with that on the university level, Andrea?
I work in a veteran support center. This is the cleanest joke that went through all day. So.
I see. Pretty good. So Joe, your take on all this. What do you think of
He has
Andrea's
that shirt too.
What do you think of Andrea's
I've seen the shirt, and I haven't decided if I want a medium or a large yet.
Well, it's already been decided for you. Your medium came in last night.
That's good.
Fantastic. Andrea, thank you for the call. Andrea, in the city on the lake in Utah.
Ooh.
And also, I wanted to know how you would think this would affect the wanker gap in the sprockets.
Yeah, well, the sprocket numbers are down decidedly when it comes to confidence in the Bureau on the average American's part. But, if you look at the wanker graph, I think there is a chance that the first quarter numbers for 2018 could go up. So it just depends on what we see over the course of the next few weeks.
So inside a question. That's like,
it's a super inside question.
You couldn't even get, someone from Langley could call and they wouldn't have as inside a question as that. Thank you, Andrea. You can hear the music playing. We only have 30 seconds. Let's bring in Andrea. Andrea, are you enjoying your holiday this December?
Absolutely. Already starting off with observing Advent, so really excited for Christmas.
Love those Advent calendars.
Good for you, Andrea.
Have yourself a little piece of chocolate before you go to bed, Andrea. Thanks, guys. Chris Freed, Kirsten Hagland.
Bye, Andrea.
Bye.
Let's take Andrea in Salt Lake City. Andrea, welcome to the show. Welcome to Tom Cotter and Carrie Louise.
Glad to step into the belly of the beast today.
Dresses?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, God,
Sorry I
she
had to
must
hear all
hate
that.
what I just
No.
said.
I wanted to get Andrea's take on this while we're here because since I know that Tom is a huge Pats fan. That game last night, that touchdown with Pittsburgh. Andrea, did you see the game?
I was vaguely aware of a game having taken place last night.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, I'm not a Pats fan like y'all are.
Well, let's take
Is that it?
Andrea in Salt Lake City. I believe first-time caller.
How are you guys doing? Taz says hello, by the way.
Taz is
Taz.
drawing the show, I assume.
MVP.
Absolutely. Yeah, aliens. I don't think that if we do find alien life, it's going to be because they came here. It's going to be because we went out there, and I think we're going to be sorely disappointed by what we find.
You think we're going to get there before they get here? That's interesting.
Well, yeah, because the alien life form we're going to find isn't going to be some being up and walking around. It's going to be like Space Moss or something. I mean, it's going to be
And won't that
not
be
at all
terrible?
what we're thinking.
Terrible if we go and we find a planet that is looks like a paradise, and then there's just kind of single cell organisms in there. You know,
What a waste.
Yeah, a waste of a big trip. Andrea, you still there?
Yes, I treat calling into your show like dialing 911. Dispatcher does.
Stay on the line, Andrea. Let's
Oh my
take
God, that's so funny.
Another caller that we are familiar with, Andrea in Salt Lake City. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Hey, afternoon, everybody. And Tass says hello as well. In fact, Tass says that she loves Mr. Shepard with all of her heart, and if she doesn't see him again soon, she will die.
Let me ask Andrea, who is female and military, what she thought of Alex Trebek.
Well, I think this is kind of the logical conclusion of society now having to consider intersectionality. So it's not that this person was a master sergeant, but how did gender, her identity, play into that role?
Oh, yeah.
And along those same lines, speaking of intersectionality, what's it like for Alex Trebek not just to be a game show host, but to be a Canadian living and working in a superior country, filling that role?
Exactly.
Well played.
Andrea in Salt Lake City, what do you think? What do you think of Matt Damon? I thought that cut, was just him being a conscientious modern man.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem too much with anything that Matt Damon said. It's more of how he said it. I think that kind of rubs people the wrong way. And in his defense, he's an actor, and it's not like they're known for coming up with their own cogent thoughts and adequately articulating them without extensive prior practice.
Boom.
That's a genius line, by the way, and that's why I think it is
Thank
so.
you. Well, I'm a genius person.
You're up there. You're definitely up there. I mean, you're talking to a community college graduate, so yes, by default, you are. As long as we're conversing, you are. But
to go back to a previous story, Andrea, you actually are a woman who dresses like Mark Zuckerberg. Do you think that he should?
It's true. It's very true.
Do you think he should be run out of the country the way that Heatha does?
No, and in fact, it's kind of rehashing a story I believe that aired on Red Eye January 27th, 2016, and it would be that Mark Zuckerberg discussed why he wears that garb, and it's so it doesn't take as much time. He wears the same thing every day, and he can spend more time helping his community, which sounds like a ludicrous excuse.
Oh, would you stop it?
He has more time to help the community. That's great.
Okay, well, you know what? Hey, we have a fan of the show's calling in. Let's get the take from Andrea in Salt Lake City. Hello, Andrea.
Hey, afternoon, everybody. And Tass says hello and is very much looking forward to drawing all of you today.
Oh, Tass, the resident artist, is going to have wonderful illustrations of us, so thank you. All about big government in California.
That's why I left.
Yeah. Yes. And where in California were you, Andrea?
East Bay. Just east of Berkeley.
Oh, so you're right in the belly of the beast there.
Andrea in Salt Lake City, getting you in the 4 o'clock hour.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Can't complain too much.
Anyway, Andrea, any resolutions for the new year?
Yeah. I usually don't wait until January 1st to enact my New Year's resolutions. I usually get started with the start of Advent.
Yep.
Because generally what enriches me spiritually will enrich me physically. So for Advent, I decided to give up drinking for special intention, down quite a few pounds already. So January 1st rolls around, I know I can stick with whatever I started.
No drinking, and you're saying that so no alcohol at all?
No. I gave it up and I kind of thought, all right, I'll stick with it till the end of Advent. That's over. Of course, Christmas season I don't think ends till February 2nd for us Catholics. So
yeah.
And then Lent I think is on Valentine's Day. So.
Coming right up. There's a lot of seasons. Then you got Pentecost, the post-Pentecost or whatever, ordinary time. I don't know after that. But you're dealing fine with the lack of drinking. I have 2 drinks a day. I feel like I don't need them, but I was just reading that most Americans drink 1.35 drinks a day. So I'll throw that question out there to the listeners. What do you think is too much? I think 2 a day is okay, don't you, Andrea?
Oh yeah, two a day is fine, but the Pringles advertising slogan that kind of applies to me and drinks, so it's it's kind of an all or nothing deal for me. So I'm going with the nothing aspect of it for this time.
I see. Yeah. I stop at 2 because I start to. Luckily, I have a weak constitution for drinking. Even though I'm my Irish heritage, I can't.
We're both Irish. How is that possible?
I don't know, but the thing is, I will get sick. I get sick before I get super drunk, so it always solves that problem.
Fair enough.
Well, Andrea, thank you for the call. Have a happy New Year. We'll talk to you in 2018.
Happy New Year, Tom. See you next month.
See you next month.